Good morning and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. A little announcement to get started. My family, my wife and I had a baby over the weekend. Little Sophie Womack. She was born on the 26th at 6 p.m., 8 pounds, 6 ounces, very healthy. Mom and baby are doing well, so really excited to have a new addition to our family. Now we're outnumbered. We have 3 kids and 2 adults, so we're a little nervous about that. 1 boy and 2 girls, so really fun times. But got that on my mind, and it's been really good. Really good addition to the family. We've got a great show planned for you today. If you missed last week's show, we had Clark Ward, a divorce attorney, and Roy Cole, a bankruptcy attorney, who had some great insights about divorce and bankruptcy and their implications on our finances. If you missed the show, please visit us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Womack Radio, or you can visit our radio page at womackradio.com. We've got a great show planned for you today. We've got Matt Gleason with National Property Inspectors. He's a local home inspector. And we've got Jeff Skoubye, an estate planner here in Salt Lake City. Matt, it's great to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it, Clint. Thank you very much, and congratulations on the baby.
Yeah.
Exciting times. I remember that well. I'm over that hurdle now, but good luck.
What about you? Any kids?
I've got 2 kids. They are older, though. They are. My daughter actually just turned 20, and then I've got a son that's 22. So whole new set of challenges with older kids than younger kids.
Yeah, you've got some financial things there with college and everything else.
Yep, exactly. But you plan for it and you make it happen.
That's right. So tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I've lived in Utah now for almost 35 years, so I consider myself a Utahn. My mom was born and raised here, and I've got a lot of family here, and originally from California, but moved up here when I was younger. So, and I've been doing inspections now for about 13 years. And we do all types of inspections, from residential, commercial, environmental, a lot of thermal imaging, things like leak detection. But really enjoy it. It's I view it as a different adventure every day, and so it's some kind of an adventurous person by nature, and so that really appeals to me. And so that I guess they tell you should love what you do, and I definitely love what I do.
So no 2 inspections are the same.
No 2 inspections are the same. There's a lot of commonalities, obviously, but no, it's a new challenge every day.
Yeah, we were just talking in the lobby a little bit earlier how you do inspections on new construction.
Yep.
And even on new construction, there's issues that come up and different things that come up on that.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of people think, hey, it's a brand new house. I've got really nothing to be concerned with. But the last thing you want to do is move into that house and find out you've got a leak in the plumbing system, something that's going to inconvenience you or potentially damage personal property. There are potential safety issues. We have a lot of quality builders here in Salt Lake, and the building departments themselves are extremely knowledgeable and have good processes in place to make sure that corners don't get cut. But they still do get cut. It's just one of those things. It's like anything. You just have to hope that you got the right person building it, framing it, plumbing it, and then the right person from the building department inspecting it. But there's a lot of disconnects and a lot of things that can transpire with new construction. So it's definitely recommended to get an inspection on new construction. Albeit, like I said, there's a lot of people that just say, hey, it's brand new. I don't have anything to worry about.
Tell me a little bit about your business. Is it your own company?
We are National Property Inspections. We're a national company, actually national and international. We have it's a franchise-based business. So I own my own local franchise here, and throughout the United States and Canada, I believe there's approaching about 250 inspectors, but they're all individual owners. Here in Utah, I'm not the only franchisee here in Utah. We've got, I believe, 5 other franchisees kind of scattered around the state. But ultimately, I am the owner and the inspector, and I take a lot of pride in that.
So it's NPI, right? National Property Inspector?
That's correct. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
No, just kind of off topic, but I'm just a little bit curious about how the franchise works. Do you pay a portion of your proceeds to NPI and then like an upfront fee as well?
We do, yeah. It's a pretty standard franchise model. You basically, pay your upfront fee, and National Property Inspections handles basically your initial training, very intensive training procedure. They set you up with all your marketing, your tools, things like that. So they really give you a good base and a foundation for the mission that we're on. In addition, they give us, ongoing marketing, ongoing training and support, which a lot of the individual inspectors that are out there, would have to go out and take care of on their own. And so having that group behind us really gives us that that benefit of staying ahead of the curve and really being on the top of our game.
Yeah, I've been using Matt Gleason for several years. I really trust Matt. He's a local inspector, and he does a great job, straight to the point, does a thorough inspection, and uses really high-tech equipment as well. That's one of the things that drew me to Matt when I was first looking, was the thermal imaging that he does. He's able to detect if there's moisture in the walls and maybe detect active leaks, which is something really important. There's a lot of plumbing issues that can come up when you're buying a house. But highly recommend Matt Gleason. If you have any questions for him, or if you want me to get you in touch with Matt, please call us at 801-674-9995 or text the words Matt Gleason to 801-674-9995, and I'll get you in touch with Matt. Great home inspector. Highly recommend him. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. Stick around with us. We've got a free lunch giveaway later in the show. We're going to continue our conversation with Matt, and we'll continue on the other side of the break. Thanks. Welcome back. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. Again, if you have missed any of our shows, please go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Womack Radio. Become a registered listener. Like us on Facebook. You can find other tips and advice and recordings of past shows on there. We've got Matt Gleason here with us with National Property Inspectors, local home inspector, highly trusted, highly recommended. Matt, we were talking a little bit before about the break that you're part of a national company. Tell me how much, what's the range of the price for a normal home inspection?
Well, the way that we price our inspections is flat out based on the square feet of the home. And so an inspection will start, for the average size home, typically under about 2,500 square feet at about $325. Now, there are some variations. Obviously, if somebody's buying a smaller condo, we're going to adjust the price accordingly. But then just based on the square feet, the price increases. So the larger homes obviously are going to cost a little bit more. Condos a little less. We do account, if we're inspecting a 5,000 square foot home and the basement's unfinished, we're going to, obviously compensate for that a little bit as well, because that there's less to check, but pretty much strictly based on square feet. And then we do offer, we try to scale things for people. Obviously, a lot of investors, they're just concerned with, the main mechanics of the home, the roof and the structure. And so obviously that takes a little less time. And so, we can basically structure the cost of the inspection based on what the person is trying to accomplish. But the base price, that $325 and then base price going up, is really for a comprehensive inspection where, we are checking everything from the roof, the structure, siding, things like gutters, grading, drainage, all the mechanical systems, all the appliances, right down to, windows, doors, floors, walls, ceilings. And all our inspections we include, you mentioned thermal imaging, all our inspections include an interior thermal imaging scan, which again, very important aspect of the inspection where we're looking for hidden moisture. The infrared thermal imaging camera can actually detect moisture that's not necessarily visible to the human eye. But we also use infrared on things like the electrical system. Camera can help identify any unusual heat buildup of any of the elements of the system. We use it on the heating and cooling systems. The camera gives us a great visual indicator as to how well the systems are performing. We use it to help detect missing and inconsistent points of insulation in the home as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty comprehensive overview of, the condition, the functionality, and really, most importantly, the safety of the home.
How long does a normal inspection take you?
Well, that that really depends. There's obviously a lot of obstacles that we can come across if we get into a home and there's a lot of storage and things like that. If we're, older homes can take longer than newer homes. So it really depends. But on average, an average size home is probably going to take about 2.5 to 3.5 hours. Larger homes, older homes can take longer. Obviously, smaller condos, take less than that. So it really, I try to tell my clients that, it's, there's really no set time. It takes what it takes. And obviously we want to make sure that we're giving, our clients a comprehensive overview. And, so, we obviously don't want to rush through it because we obviously want to make sure that all the bases are covered.
Yeah, and one of the things I really like about Matt is he has a very detailed home inspection report. After he goes through and inspects the home, it's anywhere from 20 to 30 pages, and it goes through each room, each outlet, each window, everything in the house, very thoroughly detailed on the report, and then kind of some marginal items and then some defective items that you can use as negotiating power when you go to negotiate repairs and renegotiate price after that home inspection is done.
Yeah, it really is obviously the most valuable thing that we can give is our insight. So we try to encourage the clients to either be present for the inspection or meet us out there towards the end so that we can take them through it. But then having that report, as you mentioned, great tool for negotiating with the sellers, whether you're trying to get the repairs made or, renegotiate the price at closing. But it also works great. I tell my clients to keep it on hand because every home's going to have issues. It just comes along with it. Most of the time they're maintenance things that you would expect to see on a home. And so I tell my clients to keep that report on hand and use it as a punch list, for weekend projects. The wives like it a lot because they know what their husbands have to do on the weekends, or vice versa, to kind of bring the home, up to
at least
par.
a year's worth of weekend projects right there.
Exactly.
So you spend anywhere from maybe $300 to $500 for this inspection, and it can literally save you thousands. I know I recently, last year, bought a fourplex out in West Valley, and I had Matt inspect the fourplex for me. And he actually found a couple of active leaks that you probably wouldn't have been able to see without the thermal imaging. So we were able to negotiate the repairs, able to get the price down a little bit and get those repairs fixed, all for the cost of $400 or $500 for a home inspection. In my opinion, I'm a licensed realtor here in Salt Lake City. It's the best money you can spend. It's an insurance policy. It's negotiating power. And it's one of the best tools that you can do as a home buyer. What would you say to someone that just says, hey, I'll do my own walkthrough or I'll do my own inspection?
Well, most people that you run into when they're buying a home, they fall in love with the home. When they first see it, they first walk through it. And to somebody that says, I'm just going to go through it and do my own inspection, well, you're kind of going in with blinders on because you've already fallen in love with this house. And you're not going to be paying close attention to, to the things that genuinely might be concerned. But obviously, there's a lot more to it than that. There's the technical aspect of it. I mean, most people don't know how a furnace operates or how a boiler operates. Most people don't know what they're looking at when they look inside a electrical panel other than a bunch of wires and breakers. There's a lot of safety things, and safety by far is the biggest thing that we focus on, because a house is a living, breathing, mechanical system, and there are things in your home that can kill you. Everything from a garage door, the spring snaps on it, the garage door can come down and, kill somebody. Electrical, obviously. Electrical can kill people. Gas leaks. Obviously a flood, probably not going to kill anybody, but it can cause substantial damage. And so, it's such a small price to pay when you factor in all the other expenses that come into a real estate transaction. Obviously, the largest is the purchase price itself, the appraisal, the commissions, things like that. It's such a small price to pay, and it gives you so much leverage, not only to address things with the seller, but also to know what things are genuinely unsafe and what things could hurt you or hurt your family.
What are some of the biggest ticket items or biggest dollar repair items that you've seen when doing a home inspection?
Well, the biggest ticket items are going to be structural issues, which we don't run into a lot. I mean, you see older homes and they have cracks in the foundation or some shifting. 9 times out of 10, that's usually pretty benign. But there are some areas that structurally, certainly do need to be addressed. We see certain areas where, there's been documented movement of hillsides and things where underpinning of foundations may need to be done. But the most costly things, obviously, I kind of categorize them, roof, mechanical. I mean, those are obviously going to be your biggest things. A roof is not cheap. And most people, again, they'll look at a roof and they'll say, well, the roof looks good. Well, there's things that maybe aren't done right on the roof that could be easy to repair or replace, but it still costs money. But obviously, then mechanical systems, electrical, plumbing, tend to be probably the more expensive things. Obviously a furnace, air conditioning system. I mean, they're not outrageously expensive, but they're not cheap. But those are by far the things that we try to, determine for people. Are these things that are they working right now? Are they safe, most importantly? And ultimately, will they fail on you, or, help people understand that, again, all those systems have ongoing maintenance and they need to budget for it. And as long as they do, they genuinely will last. But every now and then you run into a furnace that is ready to be replaced, and that's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
Yeah. Yeah, those things can add up, especially if you have multiple items. Say you have a couple roof issues of the furnace, the water heater. Yep. They all start to add up. In your experience, well, I guess just to have a little fun, what are some of the fun home inspections or memorable home inspections that stay with you?
Well, the great thing about my job, as with your job, is we get to see a lot of amazing homes. I mean, there's just some people that build palaces, and I've been fortunate that in my time I've seen the best of the best. I've also seen the worst of the worst, and I really love buildings and architecture and just seeing what's out there and seeing the innovations that people bring into their homes. Whether it's an old home that's been gutted and redone, and they've, kept a lot of the character of the old homes, but yet brought in a lot of the modern elements of the newer homes. I really find, how people, remodel and upgrade homes fascinating. I mean, I've done a lot of remodeling in my day, and it's just, it's such a balance of keeping the character and bringing in the innovation of the newer homes. But yeah, I mean, by far it's, getting into some of these amazing homes and just, being dazzled by how people have either initially planned them or, how the architect has created this, work of art.
Are there any architect names that stick out to you that you can remember?
A couple of homes like up in Park City, I think they may be out of business now, but the Jack Johnson Company. I think there's an architect down here in Salt Lake. I'm not sure if he's still in business, but I think his name's Max Smith. And completely different styles, but really unique, high-end homes. And again, it's always fun to get into those homes and just see what they've accomplished.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about even like the Sugar House area. A lot of those older homes that have been gutted and redone, and no two of those homes are the same. They all have their own touches.
Also, a lot of failures out there. they didn't get it quite right. What they were thinking, you just never know. Maybe
they were trying to do it on their own, or who knows what went wrong.
We do see a lot of homeowner jobs, which that's probably 90% of a lot of the issues out there are just homeowners trying to do things on their own and not doing them right, and it can be a little scary sometimes.
Some are better than others, that's for sure. So you go out to Park City. What other parts of Utah do you operate in?
We, as I mentioned, we've got franchisees throughout the state. Myself, I pretty well cover from Utah County, Salt Lake County, Davis-Weber. Every now and then I'll make a jaunt out to Tooele, and then Park City, Wasatch, Summit, Wasatch counties.
Okay. Great. Well, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks again for joining us. Any words of parting wisdom about home inspections or buying a home?
Well, as I said early on, don't go it alone. I wish you would hire me, but there's a lot of great inspectors here in the state. It's just one of those things. It's kind of like trying to, stay healthy without going to the doctor. I mean, get a home inspection. It's the best, one of the best things you can do to protect yourself and your family and your investment.
That's what this show is all about. We're about building a team of professionals that you can trust, people that you can rely on, whether it's an estate plan, a home inspection, going through a bankruptcy or divorce. We bring teams of professionals here that you can rely on and trust with some of the most important and biggest transactions that you'll make in your life. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show. We've been talking with Matt Gleason. If you have any questions for Matt, or if you'd like to schedule a home inspection with him, give us a call at 801-674-9995 or text the words home inspection to 801-674-9995. Like us on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Womack Radio. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker.
The sky was red, fire on the mountain, she said. I got what you need. I'm gonna make you scream. I've got the thing that drives you wild.
Welcome back to the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. I forgot to mention earlier that we've moved to a better time for those that like to sleep in. Our show used to be at 7 a.m. and now we're at 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday mornings here on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. If you've been waking up early, please continue to listen at our new time at 10 a.m. And thank you so much for being a listener. We've got Jeff Skoubye here with us. He's an estate planner. Jeff, great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from a little place called White City, an island in the middle of Sandy. It's part of Salt Lake County. I'm homegrown here. I was a beet digger, graduated from Jordan High School, and so I love this area. It's my home.
Local boy, very nice.
That's right.
Any knowledge of the history of the beet diggers, how they got that name?
Well, quite a bit. That area, of course, was surrounded by beet fields back when Jordan High School was originally put in place, and they would take off a week to 2 weeks in order to go harvest the beets. And they would grow sugar beets back then. Of course, there are no sugar beets grown in Utah anymore, I don't believe. When I was in high school, and we would have the topping of the beet at the beginning of the school year, and the student body officers would go and top the beet. We had to go to Idaho to get our beets that year. We don't have much sugar beets now, but that was the origin of the mascot.
What do you mean by topping of the beet?
Well, sugar beets, they look like an overgrown beet you would normally think of, but they're much bigger and they have a top to them just like a regular beet. The beet greens off the top. And then there is a knife that you would use to cut that green part off before you would put it in the truck for processing. And so you would top the beet, take that off. And, of course, nothing was more worrisome to those of us who were student body officers at that time than the idea that you would hit halfway through the beet and look like a wimp. You couldn't get through the top of the beet. So, most of us would wind up denting the knife on the garbage can we were topping the beet over. But, that's the topping of the beet.
The having a knife in high school students also concerns me a little bit as well.
Back then it wasn't considered an offense to have a beet knife at Jordan High School. I don't know today.
Well, tell me about your law firm. Is it your own practice, or do you work for a firm?
Yeah, our firm started about 12 years ago. Justin Olson and David Nielsen and myself are the founders of our firm. Currently, we have 8 attorneys at our firm. I'm the only one who handles estate planning matters at our firm. But we're a broad spectrum firm. We handle broad legal issues, commercial litigation, almost anything you can imagine we can handle from a legal standpoint.
Divorce, bankruptcy.
We do have divorce attorneys, although we don't do bankruptcy right now. We have had attorneys who do that in the past, but currently we don't do any bankruptcy work.
Okay. And how long have you been practicing law?
I should have thought of that before I graduated in 1991, and so I've been practicing since 1991. I guess 23 years. That's a long time. That makes me feel really old. 23 years. No. I've been doing estate planning as my primary area of practice since 1993.
We like to call you seasoned. With that many years, you've got tons of experience. I'm sure you've seen a few things and been able to plan different scenarios and different situations.
Well, it's a very enjoyable area of practice.
Tell us a little bit more exactly what estate planning is and kind of the main point of estate planning.
Well, we joke about estate planning from one of my law school professors. He introduced it as dead people and their things. But the bottom line is we deal with how people are going to leave their assets when they die, and who they're going to leave them to, who they're going to leave in charge of things, how they're going to avoid family arguments and fights in those situations, and also dealing with issues of incapacity. Most people think of estate planning and they think of probate. Probate, of course, is misunderstood out there. People hear that and they get a tingle up their spine and they're very worried. Probate's not a monster. It's just a process for handling a situation where there's no one with authority to act. And if you think in that sense, if you're dead, of course, you can't act. And so there's no one with authority to handle your assets, who can deed the house, who can pay the debts, and those types of things. The same thing can occur if you're incapacitated or if you have minor children who inherit assets. So, one of the biggest issues we deal with in estate planning is trying to make sure that everything is set up in such a way so that things will pass with the least hassle and the least cost. And in most cases, avoid probate. Though, again, here in Utah, probate's not the monster it is in some other locations.
Yeah, what are some of the other states where probate can be worse, and what are some of the bad things that can come up in a probate?
Well, here in Utah, we have a very streamlined process. In any state, if you have an argument among the family, you're going to have a mess. It doesn't matter how streamlined your process is. But here in Utah, we have a very streamlined process. We have a wonderful probate court here in Salt Lake County in particular that is very seasoned and knows what they're doing. But in some states, California, for instance, the cost of probates are dramatically higher. Here in Salt Lake County, we would anticipate a fairly inexpensive fee, not as cheap as proper planning ahead of time, but still fairly inexpensive. But you can eat up a huge part of your estate in a state like California, where the process is much more complex.
No, when I think of the word estate planning, I think of the words trust and will. What's the difference between a trust and a will, and do you deal with both of those?
Yeah, I deal with all of those types of things. Trusts, there's a big misunderstanding as to what a will is. A will is just a directive to the probate court as to how your probate is to be handled. Many people believe if they have a will that they will avoid probate, which is absolutely incorrect. In fact, a will can only be handled and administered inside of a probate. Here in Utah, wills have to be probated within 3 years of death to even be effective. If a person dies and 4 years pass and the will is not probated, it can never be probated. So wills have a bit of a life expectancy here in Utah. Trusts are a mechanism that we use for many things. It's really the Swiss Army knife of the estate planning attorney. It can be used for many, many things, one of which is avoiding probate. Because probate occurs because there's no one with authority to act. A will designates who can act. in a situation, but must be appointed by the court, and so you have to probate the will. A trust allows you to designate someone who can handle things now, essentially. Think of a trust like a grocery sack, if you would. You can set up this sack. It can be a container that holds everything. You put your assets inside this sack, and you designate who can manage and control that sack. Upon your death or incapacity, the next in line trustee who can manage the sack without any court appointment, and that's why we avoid probate. There's always someone with authority to act.
How many different types of trusts are there?
Oh, I don't even know a count of them. Many different types of trusts. When people think of probate avoidance, they're usually thinking of what's called a revocable living trust. And there's some misunderstanding as to what the word living means. It comes from the word inter vivos, which is referred to as an inter vivos trust, or a trust you create while you are alive. So if you set up a revocable living trust, it's a trust that you manage and control. You can amend and change, and it exists while you're alive, as opposed to a testamentary trust, which comes into being through your will. You can, in your will, say, I want a trust to be established to do X, Y, Z, but then, of course, you have to probate the will, and the trust comes into being. So there are two general types of trusts: living trusts, those you create while you're alive, and testamentary trusts. Of the living trusts, you can have different types of trusts there as well, either revocable or irrevocable, pretty clear-cut. One you can change, one you cannot, although we joke about the fact that irrevocable doesn't really mean irrevocable. You can even change an irrevocable trust in many circumstances. So those are the basic types of trusts, but they can be used for all kinds of purposes, whether it's timing distributions for children so that they don't get spoiled by the money too quickly, get it all at one time, whether it's dealing with incapacity, whether it's avoiding creditors. That can happen in some situations. And here in Utah, we have some new options available in that area with the new Domestic Asset Protection Trust law that just went into effect last year.
Tell us a little bit about that law and what it does and what it means.
Well, normally the common law, which means the court-created law, has told us that you can't create a trust for your own benefit with your assets and avoid your creditors being able to get at those assets. And that has been the law for millennia, really, as long as we've known. In the recent past, the last 20 years or so, some states have created trusts to try to compete with offshore locations like the Cook Islands or the Caymans, where you were allowed to set up a trust that your creditors really couldn't reach. A lot of practitioners didn't like the fact that you had to go to another jurisdiction. We wanted to be able to set those up here. Why couldn't we do it here? So Alaska really led the way with the first Domestic Asset Protection Trust law that allowed you to set up an irrevocable trust, put your own assets in it, be a beneficiary of the trust, but it would be unavailable to your creditors should you be sued. Now, there's a whole bunch of rules and regulations that go along with that, much more complex than we can get into today. Since that time, I believe there are now 14 jurisdictions that have Domestic Asset Protection Trust laws. Utah has had a Domestic Asset Protection Trust law for some time, but has not been very effective. Last year, we were able to get a change put through the legislature that makes our domestic asset protection law probably one of the best in the country. Is it perfect? Is it well tested? No. It's one of those things you go in with your eyes open. It's not bulletproof, but it's a very good law. So
I've heard of asset protection is that a division of estate planning, or is that almost a separate practice as asset protection?
Most of us who practice in the area of estate planning think of asset protection as part and parcel of what we do, whether it be setting up limited liability companies or corporations in order to protect our assets from creditors or liabilities that might arise. I think most of us think of it as the same part of our practice.
We're talking here with Jeff Skoubye, an estate planner, seasoned professional, local professional here in Salt Lake City. If you have any questions for Jeff, it's 801-674-9995 or text the words estate plan to 801-674-9995. Jeff's a down-to-earth guy. He was telling me one of his nicknames is Skoubye One Kenobi, so he can relate with you. Very great estate planner, highly recommended. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM. Utah's Big Talker. Stay with us. We'll have our free lunch giveaway coming up and a little bit more with Jeff Skoubye and more on estate planning. Again, this is 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. Welcome back to the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 AM, Utah's Big Talker. We've got Jeff Skoubye here with us, an estate planner. We were talking about asset protection and estate planning a little bit before the break. Jeff, tell me a little bit more about who would be a good candidate for this asset protection and some of the things that you could protect in that.
Utilizing a domestic asset protection trust?
Yes.
Well, we're hoping, at least some of us are hoping, that the Domestic Asset Protection Trust will be a mechanism for us to help people protect their primary residences. Once the home is paid off, I mean, it's a common question I get. How do I protect my home from a creditor? And when I say that, none of this is intended to protect your home or your assets from your existing creditors. If you've got an existing creditor problem, you've got a problem. There's not a lot we can do to protect your assets. On the other hand, if you use some of these mechanisms ahead of time, ahead of a situation arising, they can help to protect in those situations more than likely. But our homes here in Utah, the homestead exemption is extremely low, $40,000 for a husband and wife. Nobody can buy a homestead for $40,000. And so we're hoping the Domestic Asset Protection Trust may be a good tool for us to use for people to protect their primary residences in the future. Those, of course, who utilize Domestic Asset Protection Trusts, we primarily see people who are looking towards that, professionals, doctors, others with large amounts of money where they may have a nest egg that they could set aside and not really need it. Domestic Asset Protection Trust would likely work very well for that.
What would be a scenario where a creditor could attach a lien to a home after it's already been paid off and after the trustee or the person has passed away? Are there cases where a creditor could come after the home or attach a lien to it?
Well, and maybe I can divide that question up into two pieces, because you may be right. It may be that the creditor, if they don't come in and make their claim quickly after the death of an individual, they may not be able to make their claim at all. Utah has a statute of limitations of 1 year from the date of death, so claims have to be filed within that time frame against the estate. If you publish in the newspaper, you can cut that down to 3 months from first publication. But the kind of situation you would think of would be even a simple automobile accident. If you have insufficient insurance coverage, which, again, I encourage everybody to get good insurance coverage. Don't try to rely on these tools to protect you. Get in good insurance coverage. But let's say someone has insufficient insurance coverage and a significant automobile accident, and they were to get sued if they have significant equity in their home over that $40,000 homestead exemption for a husband and wife, that could be a target for a creditor.
So they get in the automobile accident, they pass away in the automobile accident, and you can still, I guess the person who was injured could sue the estate.
That's exactly right.
And come after the equity.
Yeah, you can't avoid your creditors by dying in that sense. However, if you die and they don't make a claim in a timely fashion, then the creditor will go wanting. And that's one of the reasons why when people come in after a death, a husband or a wife or the children come in, we'll ask the question. We'll say, is there a recent automobile accident? Is there any significant financial liabilities? Oftentimes, a lot of us die at old age, and that's great. And when that happens, we know there aren't a lot of creditors. They haven't been in a recent automobile accident. But if they have, then we usually want to publish in the newspaper to force those creditors to come out of the woodwork early and not wait until a later date.
Very interesting, yeah. And again, we talk about this every week. It's so important to work with professionals, people that are doing this on a daily basis and that know what they're doing and have seen all kinds of different scenarios and situations so that they can custom fit a plan for you and your situation. Just to go along with that, we talk a lot about auto insurance and then life insurance as well. I know there's a specific trust that you can set up. like a life insurance trust. And life insurance is an important part of everyone's plan, whether it's cash value life insurance or term life insurance. That's an important piece for anyone's estate, no matter where you are in your financial situation. Jeff, it was so great to have you on the show today. Any words of parting wisdom before you leave?
Just don't die without your estate plan done.
Yes. And that is why Jeff is here. I highly recommend Jeff, local estate planner. If you'd like to set up a one-on-one appointment with him, please give us a call at 801-674-9995. Again, text the words estate plan to 801-674-9995. We'll get you in touch with Jeff and get your plan rolling. Even if you're young, I'm in my 30s, and I feel like it's important to have an estate plan even when you're young, even if you don't feel like there's a lot of assets. If you have kids and other things, it's important to start getting that plan in place, and then you can kind of tweak it or modify it as you get older and acquire other assets. Right now, I'd like to go into our open house segment. I'd like to share 3 open houses with you today. The first open house is at 8655 South Monroe Street in Sandy, Utah. That home is listed for $199,000 and is listed by Coldwell Banker. It's open on Saturday, May 3rd from 12 to 3 p.m. The next open house is at 6992 South Jordan Closed Circle. That home is listed for $275,000, listed by Equity Real Estate, and is open on Saturday, May 3rd from 1 to 3 p.m. And our last open house for today is at 2254 East Dimpledale Road down in Sandy. That home is listed for $639,000, listed by Prudential Utah Real Estate, and is open on Saturday, May 3rd from 1 to 3 p.m. If you have any more questions about these open houses, text the words open house to 801-674-9995, and I can get you more information, or we can schedule a private showing for any of those homes. I wanted to touch today on the importance of investing. The last couple of weeks, we've talked about budgeting and saving. And budgeting is the first part. Saving, we talked about saving 10% of your income or more to set aside for savings. And then I wanted to talk today about investing. My personal view on investing is there's lots of different investment vehicles out there. There's hundreds of different types. It's a matter of doing research and finding the pros and cons, the upside and the downside of each investment, and then executing on that plan. 2 of the investments that I wanted to talk about today were multifamily units. I think we talked about this on previous shows. I own a couple fourplexes out in West Valley, and I think the real upside to real estate is you have the appreciation. So you have your renters that can be paying off your mortgage, and then you also have the upside potential of the home appreciating if you own that home for several years. And then you can protect against some of the risks with real estate. You can get a fire insurance policy. You can get a liability insurance to cover some of the risks that come from owning real estate and investment real estate. I'm a local realtor. If you'd like to talk more about real estate investing and some of the opportunities out there for owning multifamily homes, it's a great investment vehicle. One of the other investment vehicles that I wanted to talk about were options. I'm not a registered financial planner or anything like that, but I think there's just for personal investing, there's some great opportunity for options and specifically equity options like the S&P index. There's some tax advantages for trading options. And a particular strategy that I like is called an iron condor. It's an advanced option strategy where you trade the S&P or other equities, and you don't have to know which direction the equity is going to go. It can go up or down, and there's still ways to make money with an iron condor. So we're always looking for ways to help you invest. There's tons of different vehicles out there for investing. If you'd like to get in touch with an estate planner or a financial planner, that's what this show is all about, getting you in touch with those professionals and helping you come up with a plan and then executing on that plan. That's the most important part, is doing it. It's making the plan and then doing it. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show. We're so grateful that you've joined us today. Also, before I forget, we've got our free lunch giveaway today. The free lunch this week is to Citrus Grill. I haven't been there before, but we have a free lunch, and I plan on going soon. I heard the food is excellent. It's located at 3300 South and 2991 East. We've got a free lunch to Citrus Grill. If you want to check out Citrus Grill, text the words Citrus Grill or free lunch to 801-674-9995, and we'll hook you up with that free lunch. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. We've got an excellent show planned for you next week as well. We've got a physician by the name of Donald Harline, and then a financial planner by the name of John Hatch. And we put a lot of time and effort to be your consumer advocate. We try to make this a local show and get local professionals that you can trust, and financial and real estate advice that you can trust and rely on. And we want to see you in a better position next month and next year than you are today by hopefully using some of the advice and some of the pointers that we have from our guests on this show. We hope you like this new time, too. Lets you sleep in a little bit more. The new time will be at 10 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday morning. This is the Clint Womack Real Estate and Finance Show on 860 a.m., Utah's Big Talker. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope you stick around and listen to our show next week.